Hey guys, Dustin Wynn.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Bat Force Radio. Oh boy, we have been waiting a while to do this one. Well, let's just jump right in. Bat Force Tom is here.
Hey.
I'm Robin Cross, and this week we are doing a focused exploration of definitely one of my favorite books ever, and maybe one of Tom's as well. This is The Department of Truth, written by James Tynion, illustrated by Martin Simmonds, lettered by Aditya Bidikar, that really unmistakable signature look of the series by designer Dylan Todd, and I assume a huge task of editing this monster by Steve Fox, and some special acknowledgments to a few other artists like Tyler Boss, John Pearson, Jorge Fornes, Elsa Charretier, Allison Sampson, and David Romero, who have illustrated single issues of the series as well. So this book began in September of 2020 from Image Comics. It includes elements of conspiracy theories, history, political history, religion, horror, all while being the story of a man, our main character, Cole Turner. Now, we are also joined by some very special guests with a really unique link to the fabric of the story of the Department of Truth. So, Tom, who are these people and why are they here with us?
So, Department of Truth came out, and to give you guys a background, got super into UFOs. The Bat Force was worried about me. They were worried about my well-being. They were worried about
Still are.
What was going on with me. Jokingly, I leaned heavily into it years ago, getting into like conspiracy theories and UFO phenomenon and all that. And all that was trickling into the mainstream, as many people listening right now, anyone could say, like, you've heard about UFOs and stuff in the news lately. While all that's going on in the background, I stumbled across this young man named Ryan Bledsoe, who was tweeting at the time amongst those kinds of topics, one of them being, my family grew up in a haunted house and was studied by the government. Okay. So I clicked on his Twitter handle, followed a link to a YouTube page, and it was opening Pandora's box after that. This gentleman, Ryan, and his family, and through extension, friends like Nick and Alex, have experienced things that are absolutely mind-bending, just beyond comprehension. And I figured this would be a good opportunity. We just did a Grant Morrison episode where we talked about his experience as an experiencer. That relates much more and much clearly with and resonates well with Ryan and his family and his friends. Ryan, can you tell us who you are, who Nick and Alex are, what you guys do, the podcast, and what it is that you guys have experienced, and what are you trying to do?
Sure, yeah. Thanks so much for having us here, guys.
Somebody go find Alex first, because I don't know who. I don't know what happened over there. Are you okay? Is there a
That's
ransom
a good
amount?
point.
Who is that masked man?
We're just assuming that's Alex and not somebody that like broke into his house.
This was a government plant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not off the table, man.
Seriously.
No, but seriously, thanks for having us, man. And yeah, my name's Ryan. I basically grew up with the real story of the Department of Truth, and my two friends, Nick and Alex, here with me tonight, pretty much convinced me I had to make a podcast at some point. And, next thing you know, we're coming out with Bledsoe Said So and basically telling the story. And, here we are today. So,
Can you tell us a little bit of background on your dad's experience, Chris Jr.'s experience, your guys' experience as a family, Nick, Alex, the things that you've seen? Can you tell us a little bit about that so the listeners can kind of get a sense of what are we talking about here?
Sure. So in 2007, January 8th of 2007, my dad had his initial encounter with my oldest brother, Chris Jr., and 3 of their contractors that they had been working on a housing project with. They just wrapped up. They go fishing and just kind of celebrate finishing a major job out at the beach. And, they're fishing that night, and my dad's not really feeling it. He walks away from the group, and next thing you know, he's seeing these big balls of fire in the sky, while simultaneously, about a half mile away, my brother is kind of seeing these entities in the woods. And this went on to become documented on the Discovery Channel, known as UFOs Over Earth, which came out in 2008. Essentially, my dad's experience was not the conventional flying saucer, that you always hear about. It tended to be more like these lights, these big balls of light. And the entities in the woods were just had this glow about them, and this glow that came out of their eyes. And at a period of about 2 hours, my brother sat there face to face with one of these little things, 3 to 4 foot tall, just looking at him right in the eyes. And the whole time it was holding eye contact with my brother, he couldn't move. And he just physically could not move. He's not sure to this day if he was paralyzed from fear, or if it had some sort of hold over him to where he couldn't move at all. But he was stuck in that location in the woods for about 2 hours. And then meanwhile, like I had said, my dad walks away from the group. He goes about a half-mile walk through the woods. And out in the country, you grow up hunting your whole life and fishing and all kinds of nighttime activities in the woods. It just doesn't really scare you that much, so just kind of walking through the woods all on their own there. And that night, for some reason, it scared my dad really bad, because as he was walking through the woods, he heard this rustling kind of like in the brush. And he was like, is it turkeys? Is it chickens? What is it? What's making that sound? But every time he would be walking up this trail, the rustling would follow him. And when he would stop, it would stop every time for about a 15 to 20 minute walk. And it had his hair standing up on his head, and he's getting down and he's looking under the bushes. What is this? What is this? I don't know what this is, And when he gets to the top of the path, he sees on the horizon, there's these 2 big balls of orange fire. They kind of look like really big setting suns, but there were 2 of them. My dad kind of freaks out. Oh my God, that's not the sun. There shouldn't be 2. And then a 3rd one shoots up beside it. And my dad loses his mind. He freaks out. He runs back down the path, about that half-mile, path from where they were fishing to the road where he just was. And when he gets there, it's completely dark at this point. The truck is moved. The fire's out. Everybody's kind of looking around like, where have you been? Where have you been? We come to find out through the official investigation that my dad had accumulated 4 hours of missing time, which for anybody that knows anything about paranormal investigations, that indicates he was taken, was completely gone physically for the duration of 4 hours. And, the story, and I'm skipping over a lot of details here because there's a whole documentary and, we got so much to cover tonight. But the story kind of ends with them all freaking out, seeing lights in the sky above them, 8 big white balls of light scramble around in the sky, and then some number of them shoot down on the other side of the river and land in the woods. And then they all hop in the truck and they get out of there as fast as they can. And then, paraphrasing here, my dad and my brother, they see an entity in our backyard that night. And, waited 10 months. Then he reported it to MUFON.com, and then they had a full-scale investigation. And now, flash forward to 2022, we're being studied by CIA, NASA. Pretty much every intelligence agency in America has come and knocked on our door. It's just the story.
That's the craziest. I mean, the story itself obviously is wild, and the most interesting part to me is, okay, you hear a lot of these people having experiences or whatever, and people say, okay, whatever, I'm sure you guys experienced it, the things that your dad went through, the things that your family went through, the ridicule, the shaming, saying that you're crazy, this isn't happening, your dad is, family members saying like your dad is, this is demonic, you shouldn't be talking about it. That happens with a lot of these stories. But what I recognize that didn't happen with most of them is that the U.S. government goes and studies this family, which if people go online and they Google your family's name, they will find pictures of Jim Semivan, Joe McMoneagle, John B. Alexander. What's the gentleman who got really close to your family? One of the first guys that came out.
Hal Povenmire. Yeah.
Hal Povenmire.
That's the scientist.
all these people, all these names might not mean a lot to the listeners, but if you Google them and you understand who they are, Tom DeLonge is probably one of the biggest ones in the news right now. He's been to your family's property, or I think you guys have. Your dad was over
No,
at his.
yeah, Dad's flown out to him. He's never been to our
Right.
property. Yeah.
But there's
they've met
picture-
on multiple occasions.
Right, as most people know in pop culture, Tom DeLonge, left his band to study UFOs and the phenomenon. He's recently come back, but during that time that he was gone, this is what he did.
That band, if people don't realize by name, that's Blink-182.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if people are like, why did Tom DeLonge leave Blink-182? It's to go talk to Chris Bledsoe. That's what he did, and that's one of the things that he did. And
One of the things, yeah.
One of the things, and one of the most incredible things that your father experienced, that has been another significant thing that links directly to this book, which is why we wanted to have you guys on so much. Is can you explain the lady a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So the story I was discussing earlier was with like the very first night that it began in 2007. But excuse me, all these years later, it never stopped, and we still see lights in the sky and have incredible synchronicities, and in some cases have even had other occurrences of missing time and apports. Which, for anybody that doesn't know what an apport is, it's a paranormal term meaning like things just dropping out of thin air. We've had all kinds of poltergeist activity, and the list just goes on and on and on. It still goes on. And okay, so the lady. So yeah, so that all began in 2007, and then 5 years later in 2012, my dad had another major encounter, but this time it appeared as what started as 3 beings of light. Where basically said to my dad at 3 a.m., arise. He hears this voice and he hops out of bed and he's like, oh my God, it's like the night after Easter, or it's Sunday that night, going into Monday. I know it was Easter of 2012. And he hears this voice, 3 a.m., arise. He gets up, he gets dressed, he goes out to the backyard, and there's these 3 entities standing there. And they walk my dad through our backyard and they give him this little object to hold. I'm not going to go into much detail about the object. We can go deeper into that later on, but they gave him this really weird object, and he walks to the backyard. He puts it in the dog kennel. It has some symbolic meaning to it. And he's like, these entities say, this is your burden, hang on to this. It's this very weird little organic thing that kind of gnashes about. And, it's like, doesn't have legs or a head or arms, but it looks like the torso of a tiny little fluffy dog, but like it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't like follow the rules of what should be and what shouldn't be. And they're like, hold on to this. And anyway, long story short, they end up explaining to him that it's symbolic for mankind's nature and us not knowing which way to go or which way we should be looking towards, the natural way of life. And anyway, he throws that in the kennel, he locks it up, and when he turns around, there is this bull, this big ethereal bull, and it just rushes right through my dad and knocks him over on his back. And when he gets up and he rolls over and he's on his hands and his knees and he looks up, floating off the ground is a literal floating apparition of a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white woman. Yep, that's a depiction there. A blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman in a white gown that from neck to toe, it was twinkling like the stars in the night sky. And she said, you know why I'm here. You know what this is about. This is your burden. You got to go and you got to tell your story and what you've experienced to the world. She gave the name Hathor, like the Egyptian entity. She said that Amun-Ra was the hidden one, the name of the hidden one. And that basically, we're approaching the age of Aquarius, and that it's important that the world hears the story of these lights so that they'll have a chance to hear the truth ahead of, the government putting out lies and propaganda about flying saucers and physical monsters that they want us all to believe, And, there's a lot of context there, and it just goes deeper and deeper, but that's kind of like the crux of it and what she had said there.
Beautiful. And so with that story, specifically with this image about the lady, What blows me away is, okay, I'm listening to this story about the lady, listening to this story about Chris Bledsoe, listening to Ryan. You guys started a podcast. You guys are, working with Nick and Alex. And lo and behold, one of the covers, how does this all relate to Department of Truth, guys? Lo and behold, one of the covers to issue 7 by artist Tyler Boss is this little ditty. Okay.
It's uncanny, man.
It's
like,
uncanny.
so that's something that blows me away, is a lot of elements that we'll get into right now that you are describing are directly in this book. And it's just, it blows me away that, like, there's just, like you say, synchronicities. There's a ton of synchronicities happening in the media, in the world, in this comic book with that relates all back to this story and this experience. And that's kind of what we wanted to get into. Like we mentioned, Robin has done an insane job with doing some research. So the rest of us are going to sit back while him and Nick kind of take it away from here. But Robin, that's going to fuck me up all night long, dude.
May I just, is it okay if I jump in one last time? I forgot to say this entirely for the people who have no clue about the story.
Whoa, Alex transformed. Hold up. What? The last time I saw you, you looked like you needed help.
Oh my God.
Did
how
you
handsome he
make
is.
a deal with the guy that was in your chair or something?
Me again.
Oh,
You couldn't even
okay,
hold it
okay.
10 minutes? Come on, man. Anyway, before we move on, I did want to say that the entities I didn't even mention this, but they told my dad. We ended up it's been 15 years, going on 16 years since these experiences started. And it's important to know that through hypnotic regressions and through more encounters and more experiences and more face-to-face interactions with entities, and I've even been face-to-face with one or two. And anyway, so where I'm going with this is they ended up telling my dad they were these, they're basically like angelic. Their purpose here is they created us and they protect and they nurture life. They guide us towards our evolution, towards eventually, we're over reincarnation through many lives. We're evolving towards light, and like that's essentially their whole purpose here is taking care of us like a garden.
Almost mirrors to a T the experience that Grant Morrison had in that temple after visiting the temple in Kathmandu. Another reason why, like, this is all just kind of related and folds into itself. Robin, where do you want to take us from here?
Well, before we jump right into the comic, I want to point out one other thing. So what I was doing, this book has been running for a couple of years now, so I wanted to go back to the beginning and just do a little review and refresh my memory of some things. And while I was doing that, it came to my attention. I don't know if James and Martin are aware of this. I'm going to mention this to them. But the Department of Truth comic book is now, it seems, so there are a section of people who hate this comic because they see it as a covert attempt to squash conspiracy theories and make it look like conspiracies are all not to be believed. And all these pro-conspiracy theory guys hate the book, hate James Tynion for writing it, and they think that this is some government sanctioned attempt to discredit conspiracy theories. So the comic itself is now part of a conspiracy theory, and I kind of hate the word meta, but geez.
Ironically, people have that theory about me as a person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was a thread put out about me yesterday being a government plant, so let's bring it.
They got their own weird desk now. The Department of Truth has its own weird desk.
Yeah.
So anyway, basically, I will begin to lead us through a summarization of the main story beats and the conspiracy theories used. So as we get through each conspiracy theory that comes up, Tom or whomever would like to explain the details of those can go right ahead. As well, if I gloss over anything, any story beats or any details or anything, feel free to interject. So let's keep this very much a group discussion of the story and the themes. I think that'll be conducive to the best examination of the story we can do.
Sweet.
So yeah, jump in anytime you want. I tend to not shut up sometimes, so just jump right in.
You're in good company. No worries.
Yeah. Okay, so Department of Truth, Issue 1. This introduces us to some of our main characters, beginning with Lee Harvey Oswald. If you haven't read the book, if you haven't read the book already, go back and read it before you listen to any of us spoiling it here. The book really does. You owe it to yourself to experience it
For sure.
as it is. So it introduces us to our main characters, Lee Harvey Oswald. Yes, it's that Lee Harvey Oswald. We see him being interrogated in 1963, so after the assassination. Then we come to present day and we meet Cole Turner. We also meet Ruby. We're introduced to the Department of Truth itself and the woman in red, who we were just speaking about. And so this issue takes us not only into the JFK conspiracy itself, we are introduced to the flat Earth conspiracy theories, and right into the Bledsoe family links with getting this woman in red, who is, the comics interpretation of the entity that you were just speaking of.
Something that they also kind of touch on in this issue that you guys, can jump in on this. The idea that groupthink or like a group mentality can change the physical reality. So the fear is that if too many people believe in one thing, that it will physically manifest into reality. And so the Department of Truth, they're tasked with stopping that from happening. Because technically, yes, if you all think on a bad thought, and if enough people think about it, bad things can happen. But what's the reverse side of that coin? Is even thinking positively can change something, and that's a dangerous thing for anyone to have power to do, I think.
And that's very much what Grant Morrison talked about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good point. Grant Morrison is I didn't know that he was so into like metaphysical stuff and occult stuff until we talked to you on our show, and I was like, what? I mean, I'm super familiar with his work, but I didn't know that he was into that kind of stuff. And that was also before, I had read Department of Truth, which is like, it's all about manifestation. I love that, like, the spotlight of the book is manifestation, because it's such a new age thing that a lot of people are talking about. Like, you notice, like, everybody's talking about manifestation these days.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody. I feel like I can't turn on a show or a podcast or anything without them talking about manifestation. And I believe in it. I believe it's real. And Department of Truth just does the coolest job putting that into like a fictional setting, but using real life examples. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I can't say enough about this, because not only is it a really cool concept, well put together, James is a brilliant writer, and Martin's art is just insane.
The art is so gorgeous. And like, I was telling, my wife is an artist, and I was telling her, like, you have to read this, babe. Even if it's just for the art, you have to, because like, I love how like the art style will change. You'll be reading one issue and you read the next one, and it is a completely different art style. Like, they very cleverly do that with like flashbacks, or like if they reference a conversation, or something like that, they'll do it in a different art style, so it's not a part of like the main time continuum or whatever.
Yeah.
So genius.
What's crazy too is shout out Jeremy, Ryan's brother, who I abducted in the desert and took to a convention in Vegas. But I met up with Jeremy, and we went to this convention where Martin had his art on. He was selling some of his art, so we'll open his portfolio. And like, the thing about the art too, Nick, like, I think I took some pictures. I gotta send it to you. Even looking at it in the comic doesn't do justice to what it actually is in your hands, because he does multimedia. So he will take not just like comic artboards and not just like traditional forms of art. He will take like strings and metal, and he'll cut things out and he'll glue it over and superimpose things.
What?
And it's literally like a 3D piece of art, but he scans that, so you don't even get the depth of what it really is.
Oh, that's so cool. So he uses like real elements and then scans. That's sick.
and it's multimedia too, because I don't know if he does this with all pages, but sometimes he's posted like process photos and showing an image go from beginning to end. And some of the pages, at least, he will begin with as Tom was saying, this mixed media thing, but then he'll scan those, because that's how all the pages get sent to the to the publisher anyway. But some of the pages he will then, after he scanned it, he will digitally manipulate them further to get that exact look that he's looking for.
That's a
Ryan,
visionary.
Yeah.
You when we were on your podcast, you did an amazing job talking about I'm trying to remember. I think it was like Jack Parsons, Crowley, and what they were trying to do. What was it that you were? How did you describe it? Like what they were trying to do? Then the phrase of Babalon, the name Babalon.
Yep. So it's the Babalon workings. So Aleister Crowley had this belief. Do you think your listeners are familiar with who that is?
Probably. Slightly, they know the name, but they probably don't know. That's why we brought you on. So this is
sure. So so let's just take it one notch back. So Aleister Crowley is this really renowned, very vile, dark magician, so to speak, but like in real life, like not in fiction. Like he actually was into really esoteric witchcraft type black magic shit, and a lot of truth mixed in with a lot of his dark stuff too, and that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, so he had this belief. He had actually a whole religion called Thelema. And a lot of popular understanding of Satanism is totally misguided, and it actually comes from his writings, the whole "do what thou wilt" and all that stuff. And I'm not endorsing this stuff. I'm just, I just like to talk about it, explaining exactly. I'm reporting. Yeah. So anyway, so he had this religion called Thelema, and he had a belief that there would be a woman called the Scarlet Woman who would be born or who would be summoned into the world, and she would have red hair, and her true name would be Babalon, but it's spelled like without a Y, like the country from ancient Iran.
B-A-B-A.
Exactly, and he believed that she would be the mother of the Antichrist. Now, this is not fiction. Like there was a real person in history who believed this and had writings about this. And okay, so moving forward, now this guy was from England, and he was up around the 1930s and 40s, long time ago. And he had some proteges in America. His top American disciple was a guy named Jack Parsons, who is a very famous kind of like proto NASA rocket scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And he was responsible for starting JPL, which was Jet Propulsion Laboratories.
My dad works there.
Whoa!
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Wow.
Layers and layers.
Yeah.
He's a subcontractor. He's a subcontractor that works.
So
there.
you're a spy, you're saying?
And that's why you're all here.
I never told you guys.
They're a dime a dozen in my story anyway.
Yeah, true.
So JPL. So he started JPL, and he was probably he's regarded as Aleister Crowley's number one American pen pal or protege or whatever, and writing back and forth. And this was before internet, things like that. So they had been members of this very magical order known as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Aleister Crowley was kicked out because his practices were too vile, and they were working on some sort of ritual to pull off in the Mojave Desert known as the Babalon working. And Jack Parsons, and he had a best friend. Now, this one's going to be probably shocking, but also pretty wow, duh. Jack Parsons' homie or guy that he did all this stuff with in America was actually L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. And, you pick it apart, you compare the roots and origins of these religions and mythologies, and basically Scientology is totally just ripped from Thelema, and they throw a little sci-fi flying saucer spin on it. So did you just come up with two screens?
You just did a shadow clone jutsu,
really
bro.
just gave himself away here.
Okay.
What just I think I got kicked out and I jumped back in. Is everybody okay?
I didn't see you disappear. I just saw another of you come up.
Another
and for a
of you.
moment, there were two of you side by side.
Dude, some weird things are happening on this episode
Blowing your
already.
own cover here.
So to wrap it up, so I don't bore everybody to death. So to finish it out here, Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, they actually carried out, according to what some people in NASA had told our family, that Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard did do a ritual known as the Babalon working in the desert, and they believe there was some possibility that they could have opened some sort of dimensional tear or something, and that was around the 40s when that was reported to have happened, and that's when supposedly more saucer type or whatever. I don't even like the word saucer because it's so propagandized or whatever. But it was around the 40s when all these reports started coming out, and Jack Parsons pretty much died like a pretty crazy, like insane death. I think he kind of went mad from all of his. Oh, that's the symbol. That guy's eye is the unicrystal hexagram of Aleister Crowley. See, I've never read this. I didn't know that was.
I was just about to say everything that you're saying is on these pages right here, bro. Yeah. This book is so wild, bro.
Yeah, I swear to God, I've never read this, but that's
crazy?
That star in his eye is that's the unicrystal hexagram, which was created by Aleister Crowley. It's like his specific spin on a 6-pointed star or a hexagram. And anyway, so Jack Parsons kind of went insane at the end of his life, and he did meet a woman with red hair named Marjorie Cameron, and he kind of like ran off into the sunset with her. Or no, I think L. Ron Hubbard ran off into the sunset with her, and they drove off together, and he went and I guess founded Scientology, and the rest is history. But This guy, even though he sounds crazy, he's like the fella in history who's responsible for getting the whole rocket industry started. So he was a pretty prolific genius. And the whole point of this story here is we have these figures in NASA and not ancient, but our precursor to our aerospace industry, dabbling with the elite occult religions.
And their symbolism is in some of the seals that they use. Like there's some of the official seals that they use for the stuff that they. I mean, this is like the official U.S. government seals, and they got like all this occult symbolism in it. Crazy. So insane. And then I think this is Ryan. God damn it, I did it again. Robin, is this from the end of the first issue?
Yeah.
Is that issue 1? Yeah. Okay.
Somewhere up in the first. But check this out, Ryan. Look at this. Look at the symbolism of the Department of Truth seal.
Yeah, it's like the $1 bill. It's very similar to the actual American seal.
Yeah. Yep. What is the symbolism of the eye inside of the pyramid and all that?
I mean, it depends who you ask, man. I mean, I'm not an expert and I'm not initiated in any order, but the understanding is that it's kind of like the Philosopher's Stone. It's like it's the all-seeing eye of consciousness, or it's the circle and the triangle is like the Trinity represents creation, the circle represents the unity or the oneness of consciousness. And we are threefold manifested beings of mind, body, and spirit. But, in reality, we're all one consciousness. So we're kind of just manifesting reality as we go from the top down.
Yeah. And it's like, that's also the, how do I get out of here? The symbol that you guys have on your caps and your podcast.
Yeah.
It's a play at it. Yeah. And that's what is known as the mythological Philosopher's Stone. Well, it's actually real, and it's just a metaphorical symbol.
Yeah, there's so many different like conspiracy theories and reasons for why the some people say it's like the all-seeing eye, like the all-seeing eye of consciousness, but some people say it's like the all-seeing eye of Satan. Like, there are so many different, but like one of the things we love to do on our show, pretty much the thing that our show does, is we like to draw a bunch of circles and look in the Venn diagram, in the middle of the Venn diagram. You know what I mean? And one of the things that you find pretty quickly when you do that, and like most ancient religions and like esoteric like thought, there's this triangle with the circle in the middle, like Ryan's talking about right now. It's a symbol. It stands for the Philosopher's Stone, which is like essentially what the entire book of Department of Truth is about, which is that your mind can manifest physically the things that it if you focus your energy towards that, you can actually manifest. It's like you can have your dream life. You know what I mean? Your life can be exactly what you want it to be through means of manifestation.
Dude, I don't know.
Pretty much. Again, and again is exactly what Grant Morrison was saying. Full circle. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, we're out of here.
You solved it. Last episode, guys.
Go read it.
So back where we left off. So yeah, we met our main character Cole. He was at this sort of like a convention for the conspiracy theory. He gets scooped up by these guys that are these wealthy people who are at the meeting. They put him on a plane and they're flying them off with them to show him something. And all these guys are big supporters of the flat Earth theory, and he finds out as they're on the way that they're flying him out to the ice wall at the edge of the world. And while they're on the plane, they can see this through the windows. And while he's on the plane seeing this, he starts feeling sick because of he wasn't prepared for all this. He doesn't know where he is or what he was being taken to. And because he's now not looking out the window, this woman who is on the plane wearing red with big sunglasses on asks him if he saw. It tells him it's important that you see. She pulls down her sunglasses and she has X's for eyes, and is telling him it's important that he sees.
Creepy. Another thing too,
so creepy.
Something that you learn like through, well, at least in the comic that they do a good job of, is they show you like these aren't just like low lives that are pushing agendas or conspiracy theories or whatever. These are the elite with the power and the influence of society that are pushing narratives for whatever. And in part of the first issue, you get the impression that like, aren't they having a party? Like they're all standing around drinking, like having a party. And you get the sense that like they're evil and that like they are. It's just and that's what Cole feels. You just feel through the main character this like ickiness, and something that's I think crazy for you guys is like that's exactly kind of what you found with these people start showing up to your house, Ryan, and they're telling you one thing, and then you start to slowly realize like all the creepy stuff that they're all into, and these are like high level government types, right?
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely right, and it's like, it's complicated. I don't know how to say. Like, a lot of them were into really, really deep stuff like Kundalini yoga and really like spiritual energy healing type stuff, and then some of them were kind of like, some of these folks in the CIA and the Department of Defense were pretty much experimenting with like all kind of psychic research effects, including black magic and things of that nature. Really, really edgy, dark studies and remote viewing, and there's just a lot of crazy stuff that's really gone on in the Department of Defense. And some of it's icky, some of it's super cool and wholesome, and it's just kind of like factions. Different factions with keys to different research facilities and different budgets to pull off this crazy ass study that other facilities have no clue that they're doing. It's so compartmentalized in the Department of Defense.
I think what they do a good job too in the book is as you go through the issues, I think it starts out Department of Truth. Oh, they're the good guys. Cole, he's being recruited by the good guys, and he's made to think that his goal is just. And just like what you experienced around with your family, like you start to realize like, oh, these dudes are kind of like working against each other, or they're trying to get information, and the other guys are trying to get it. Like different branches, different agencies of like intelligence are trying to gather information. They don't talk to each other, and what you basically realized is all these dorks who don't have access are coming to you and your family to try to get all the information that your family has. You guys aren't government types. You're just good American, like a good wholesome family with like morals, and you're just living your life. And this entity is choosing to, share this information with you guys. And the government is like, well, we need that information.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, there was an individual who had approached our family in about 2012, 2013. And there's a book written about him known as American Cosmic. And anyway, this individual was real deal, what you would call invisible college or Illuminati, if there ever was such a thing. I mean, this guy was your standard textbook definition of really being involved with these organizations. I mean, he had a CIA, NASA, Air Force Intelligence, NRO, and believe it or not, Area 51 badge in the trunk of his SUV in a folder that he said, could you, come out to my car? I'd like to show you some identifications, and showed me literally flashed these to us and letting him know he was at our property on business from XYZ agencies that he had been working under in tandem. I mean, literally there are folks like this who are like, just wave a pass and 6 different intelligence agencies just let him walk right in. You know what I mean? I mean, my dad, just for example, my dad's in an airport with this guy. This guy flashes a badge and they skip right through security. I mean, this guy, it's detailed in the book. He walked right up to the Vatican, literally the secret Vatican archives, waved a clearance, and just let right in, and people like that have been coming around. And he actually did make my dad write down the experiences and the, so to speak, prophecies or visions that this female entity had communicated to my dad. And he actually took them and reported them to the Pentagon and also to the president at the time, which was Barack Obama, and had sent us a napkin in the mail from the presidential resort, which is, Camp David. He stamped the federal seal of Camp David, insinuating that it was sent directly to us from Barack Obama as he was briefing him on our family.
So wild.
And, and it's just like, it just gets crazier and crazier the deeper we go. And this gentleman in particular was one of the ones responsible who made me kind of like keep an open mind in regards to the occult. I mean, that's one thing that and by the way, let me preface, when I say the word occult, I'm not necessarily talking about black magic. I'm not talking about evil practices. When Ryan Bledsoe or the Bledsoe Said So team says the word occult, we mean it in the true way, which is like just hidden things that are not that common, like, reincarnation, yoga, meditation. Technically in America, these things are occult. You know what I mean? So he put us on to sacred geometry and just really like deep esoteric stuff that most people don't know about. And that's the kind of stuff they're into in the Department of Defense and their deep facilities, their undercover facilities.
Those are the dude, like they're probably reading Department of Truth right now to see like what's been trickled out and what's being consumed by and basically making the connections that we're making right now. Let's keep on cruising, guys. I was, dude. Well, I mean, guys, like, come on now. Like, what?
Come on.
Like,
that's what I was saying. They're probably writing it, bro. I'm just kidding.
They were probably writing it.
And the thing too is like, it's just crazy. It's just too many synchronicities, too many things going on here. I was gonna say, let's keep on cruising. What else pops up in the books, Robin and Nick, that you notice is also tying into all this?
Well, the first big thing here. So, go ahead.
You sure? Yeah,
man.
Totally
go,
cool to let you
go
go
nuts,
first.
man. No, it's okay.
Cool.
Go ahead.
We talked about this a little bit on our episode that we got to do with Tom. Thanks so much for coming on again. That was awesome.
Dude, it was a blast.
Yeah, it was so much fun. But yeah, so I'm reading through it at your suggestion, by the way, Tom. Like you were the one hyping it up, talking about it all the time. I was like, all right, this dude literally is like one of the world's authorities on comic books. I think I'm gonna take his suggestion and probably read this comic.
You guys are too kind on that.
Yeah, no, it's legit. It's the Bat Force, what conglomerate, whatever you want to call it. The Bat Force, it's the coolest. I mean,
it's dope, really... by the way. To cut in just briefly, I was listening today, and y'all have a dope fucking podcast. Like it's
so
cool.
Awesome.
It's cool. I was catching the Black Adam episode.
Appreciate
awesome
it.
Stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm reading through for the first time, and yeah, it's like the main character Cole reminds me so much of Ryan, because like this stuff for Cole started when he was like a really little kid, and he feels his entire life like he's compelled, like there's this gnawing thing at him that's like, I have to know what this is about. I have to have the answers, and I'm not gonna be able to rest until I have these answers. He finds himself caught in between these different organizations, like we're talking about. He finds himself questioning the things that he believes. He has like it creates tumult in his family. Like there's so many similarities between Cole and Ryan. But I'm reading in every issue, I'm like, yep, we talk about this on the podcast all the time. Yep, this happened to the Bledsoe family. It's like boom, 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 boom. And then issue number 7 was like the mic drop moment where it was just like, okay, this is spot on. And the entire issue, and I hope I'm almost certain it's the right one, but it's issue 7 is the entire thing. Cover. Right. Yeah. He did that was that issue. Yeah. So the issue is like entirely about like these orbs of light, like people being visited by orbs of light. It's about the entire history of like UFOs making contact with the modern world, essentially. And the evolution of that. And it starts as early as when was when was the time it was all over the newspaper and everything where there was UFOs over Washington D.C.
52.
50s?
52.
Okay, gotcha. So I think it was either that or it was the battle for Los Angeles. Which one was earlier? There was one where they appeared over Los Angeles. Anyway, it was essentially, it started there and then it goes forward and it talks about how UFOs can transmogrify themselves, can take different shapes, can basically make sounds and do all this different stuff, how they appear before people in a way that will cater towards that person and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, this is quite literally the Bledsoe story. They are, they have for what, 15 plus years now,
Almost 16, yeah,
been constantly visited by these spiritual orbs of light, these beings of light. And like, I mean, dude, it's so spot on that's one of the things that kept me turning the page is like, are they gonna just like, am I gonna turn a page and Ryan and his entire family are just gonna be in the book or something? Like, it gets kind of ridiculous at a certain point. I'm like, it's
the ladies in
really wild.
The ladies in like every issue, pretty much.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and then that was the other thing is like Babalon, the character in the book, is like at first you think she's evil, but then it gets more complicated, and you're like, who is this chick? And it's and she seems to be showing up throughout time and history to guide humanity, and it's like there's a lot of parallels to the lady. I mean, like,
that's what the CIA told us when my dad reported that experience with the lady. She's like, oh yeah, you might also know of her as the Miracle of Fatima, which is a Catholic miracle.
Right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Oh, yo, Alex said Battle of LA 1942. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so it was that one because it was the earlier one. But yeah, that one was just like so blatant to me that from that issue forward, I just like could not stop reading.
Yeah, and how much she comes into things, like particularly, I won't spoil it completely before we get there, but when you get to the end of Volume 2, which is the end of issue 13, there's a big revelation about her that shows just what her role seems like it might actually be in this. So yeah,
I want to say it's so bad because it's so relevant.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna barrel through and get there. So yeah, we talked about Cole was on this plane with these rich guys, and they were taking him out. He looked out the window. He could see the ice wall, and this woman in red asked him if he saw. Told him it's important that he sees. So they land the plane, and they're there at the ice wall, and Cole can't believe it. He never believed that this was true, that it could be true. And then this car pulls up, a woman gets out with a gun, and she kills everybody except for Cole. Now the woman in red is no longer there. She's vanished. But Cole is left with this woman who's just offed all of these very wealthy, influential people up at this ice wall in the North Pole or wherever they were at. And then she takes him with her. So, is it when we come into issue 2? So anyway, we see now Cole is driving in the car with this woman, and he thinks that he's going to be killed. Like, he thinks this woman's taking him somewhere, and he's going to be killed because of what he just saw and what he now knows. But this is where he is now being introduced to the Department of Truth. So we find out, he gets delivered to the Library of Congress to meet with Lee Harvey Oswald, and they basically have poached him. So Cole was in the FBI, and the Department of Truth are hereby poaching him to become a part of their organization. And in issue 2, we get the history of Cole's completely involuntary involvement as a child in the Satanic Panic conspiracy. Yeah, so he has all of these memories, and he was interviewed and on the news. Yes, so he has all of these memories of being taken down this secret stairway in his grade school where there was a man eating babies.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
The
And
star-faced man.
yes,
Star scarred
yes,
onto his face.
yeah, and if you look at Martin's art in this, it gets when you
So
come
scary.
to the entities like the star-faced man, it gets so surreal and just creepy. Like it goes from being
Horrifying.
completely real world looking things to just utterly unnatural.
It looks like the Arkham Asylum original graphic novel.
Yes.
Like, you know how like insane that looks? That's
Dave
what
McKean's
it looks like
Joker
in
and
Department of Truth.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So wild.
I forget what issue it is. I think it's later on, but Martin did this page where it's the star-faced man, like he's like huge, like leaning over a table, and he's like cutting like a baby in half, and at the table, and you know, no political puns intended or anything, but it's just an amazing, disgusting, awesome image. But there's Epstein, Clinton, and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are all sitting at the table, and he's like cutting the babies up for them to eat.
In the show, in the comic,
in the comic,
it's literally Bill, Hillary, and Epstein.
Oh, dude,
so the artist superimposed like newspaper clippings with like X's on their eyes, and he put it into the comic book. And so I asked him, I'm like, dude, like this got put in the book? He's like, yeah. I'm like, they let you publish this? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, Alex Jones is in it too.
Yeah,
Alex
that's what I was
Jones
going to say
Alex
next.
Jones is in it.
This is too meta.
Through the
It's
rest
so
of
meta.
this arc, we get looks at things like the issue 2 or 3 starts off with a look at this guy who he isn't named Alex Jones, but it looks just like him, and he's screaming about this school shooting that he believes was faked and all. Yeah, and so
which Alex Jones did that. Yeah.
So Cole is given the history of the Department of Truth and telling him a little bit of what it is they're doing. So he's getting a crash course on that this exists and the idea of these belief manifesting in reality. And Cole ends up finding himself put by Lee Harvey into a situation where Cole is told to kill these 2 reporters who have come into possession of sensitive documents. And Lee tells him if he proves that he can do this job, he can handle this kind of thing, then he will allow Cole to chase after this star-faced man.
Shout out real quick to Tynion, the writer, because I mean, as amazing as the art is, blowing everybody away as you're reading it, he humanizes the shit out of these insane situations. With the issue with the mother being, not only is her child the victim of a mass shooting, but she's the victim of, she starts to believe that the shooting was staged, because if she believes that the shooting was fake, then her son is a crisis actor, so that means her son's still alive. And it's so fucking heart-wrenching to follow that path.
Good writing.
And there's the other side of the things that are making her believe too, is that she sees that footage of this woman in an acting class who looks just like her,
Yep.
Yeah, and it's so that's a way that yes, there's a crazy amount of conspiracies and themes in the book, but underlying all of it is Tynion's ability to humanize the characters. And so that issue is a great example of that. And we'll get to that one. There's the Bigfoot issue, Nick. I know you were talking about that one too, because of the father-son relationship in it.
Yeah, it was just so touching. And that was another thing that reminded me of the Bledsoe so much. Just like those tender, raw moments between father and child about being believed about their experience and being loved, and it really made me think about the Bledsoes and Ryan and his siblings.
That comes up a couple of times with experiencers, right? And how these people who are kind of involved, they're pawns almost in a way. Experiencers get used as pawns either by the media or by the government or whomever is studying them. And it's these people have lives, these people have families that are being ruined or traumatized because of the way that they're being used. And your family, I think, is a great example of that, of how you guys went through so much ridicule, being pawns for different people, the way you were made fun of in the media, and the way that you've been harassed, and it's just it's very poignant, and the book does a great job of explaining that in a way.
Thank you, by the way, just for the empathy part.
Yeah.
I think there's another interesting parallel that Ryan might not be aware of, but for those of you who don't know, there was a documentary done about the Bledsoes in what year was it, Ryan?
I think it came out in 2008.
12. Okay.
8?
No,
Okay.
8,
Yeah. And it was like a complete hit job. The people who did it was MUFON who did it. And it was a complete hit job. Oh yeah, just complete assholes. But I think it's really interesting because in the Department of Truth, the character Hawk, that's his job. His job is to like debunk, discredit experiencers and like spin it into a story that's presentable to go on the news and mold the minds of the general public.
And Hawk becomes such an incredible character. Through the first, by the end of that issue 13 that we talked about, holy shit.
I love Hawk so much. One of my favorite characters. But I mean, that was done to the Bledsoes, you know?
Yeah, that was actually told to me by the individual you mentioned earlier named Jim Simivan, which, by the way, you didn't even say this part, but for those that want to just get an idea for who some of these folks are, I mean, he ran, this guy in real life, he ran the spy program for the CIA for I don't know how many years, but anyway, he told me in my backyard around a campfire, he said that the gentleman who directed the organization MUFON at the time and was in charge of the investigation of my family, Jim's words were he was a low-level CIA spook sent in to hatchet our family story to the public.
To discredit.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember you saying there was a time when, obviously you guys went through all this like bullshit from media, from people locally, from your church, your own family, where you guys like suffered, right? Because of being public. And then wasn't there a time when Semivan like said he came to your house and he's like, invite whoever you want, I'll tell them who I am, and I will tell them I believe Chris Bledsoe, I believe the story, you can ask me whatever you want about it. And like basically gave you guys like he like solidified and like he like came. People need to please Google Jim Semivan to understand what this means.
It's just for frame of reference, and it's not like I'm trying to glorify any individuals or anything like that in their military career. Certainly, that's not the case. And in reality, I just feel like when people hear these details, they're going to be like, "What the fuck?" You know, like that's the scope of this story, and you know the level of interest the government has in my family. But this guy is one of the only living senior service intelligence members of the CIA, and his rank is the equivalent of like a 2-star general in the Army. So, when you look at contractor ranks, they are GS instead of having like private, I don't know the orders, but like a private, a corporal, this or that, the other, they have GS 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to like 21, I believe. And what, based on what he had told us, he was GS 19, which is like a 2-star general. So very, very high powered figure sitting in our backyard and, just trying to come and see lights and orbs and trying to get a piece of it. And that, many like that have come. I mean, at one point I found myself literally truthfully holding the hands of the deputy director of the CIA at a bar mitzvah for a political figure's kid. And just, happened to be the grandson of Robin Leach. And anyway, just like all because we see lights in the backyard, so there's heavy interest from the Department of Defense in this stuff.
Wow. So you mentioned earlier the aspect of these different agencies trying to get information from you for their own use. And we come to another parallel of that here in the story, because after we left Cole, he was put in that position to kill those reporters to prove that he can do this job, we cut back to the woman who had picked him up at the ice wall. Her name is Ruby, and we see she has been sent off to a facility that was used by this group called Black Hat, which is the opposing force we meet to the Department of Truth. So she shows up at this place that had been a facility they used. All she finds there is a reptilian creature that one of these created, manifested through thought creatures that they left there because they knew she would be coming. So she shows up, has to kill that thing. And in addition to finding a video that shows them annihilating all of their own staff who were stationed at that facility, she finds that they have a file on Cole. They left this basically for the department to find there to say, hey, yeah, we know who he is too, and we're after him too.
Wow. Yeah. I like what you said, particularly Robin, about the being manifested from thought.
Yeah.
So again, I haven't read the Department of Truth. So you're saying these cryptids in the story you find out that they are actually manifested from the thoughts of people?
Yeah, we get there's so many tulpas, thought forms, all that kind of thing. Yeah, that it comes up so big throughout this story.
Wow.
Yo, how about this, Ryan? In Department of Truth, they explained the origin of the Mothman as they were trying to manifest an alien, and it went wrong.
Wow.
And they manifested the Mothman, and that's how he came into reality.
That's deep.
It's so cool, dude. This is the best comic, bro.
Tulpas and thought forms are one of the things I've had conversations with.
That's what they call them in the book. They call them tulpas.
I don't mean that I've spoken to a tulpa or a thought form. I mean, this is a subject that I've spoken about with people through my contacts and things like that. And there are folks who tend to believe that, such a thing as egregores and tulpas and thought forms are real. Maybe not in the sense that they physically manifest, but my whole take, I just feel like this is relevant right now, but my whole thing I've been out there on the internet saying all these years is, reptilians and aliens and shit aren't real. They just want you to believe it is, so it will be.
Yeah.
Dude, that's what I was saying. Like Bledsoe Said So. Shout out Bledsoe Said So. Is one of the things that has cured me of the belief in little green booger men, and like all this stuff in the media right now, all the stuff about the UFOs, also related back to this book, that's tip of the iceberg shit. Like the amount of time people spend on UFO Twitter, arguing about like flying saucers, like if you dig deeper into what all this stuff actually is, it is so much cooler in real life.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just like I still do sometimes. I slap myself in the face. Oh, fucking Roswell. Oh, dude, the Vargina video of the being is about to be released. Oh, please. And I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Stop it. Like, and it's like, God, remember. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
It's the Department of Truth releasing that shit.
Dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the real
and it's
one.
like, and what you have to question is like, okay, why there's something like why are they pushing so hard? And it's so funny the game they're playing right now. Like apparently today they were supposed to release like another like UFO like government. It was supposed to be a government report, another government report about UFOs. And surprise, surprise, they're like, well, we're not sure yet. And it's funny because I have friends texting me like, oh, dude, did you see? Like, I'm like, guys, like you're gonna trust the government who's told you like that they're not real for the longest time to now tell you if they're real or not. It's like so over, bro. Like you're going to the wrong places. The best place to go are experiencers. Like listen to them. It's because most of like, and think about your family, dude. Think about the things your family has been saying since when was it your dad was first visited?
2007.
Think about everything
Officially.
since then that now has come out in some form and like has been like said, oh yeah, no, that's true. Like different versions of whatever it is.
Well, I mean, look at the Department of Truth. I mean, this is insane. My dad's been publicly speaking about these experiences with this female entity since 2012.
Yeah.
So like that's. I was kind of shocked when you said you met the writer and the author, and they're like, "No, never heard of them." Like, really?
well, it's the thing. It's like, go ahead, Ron.
I mentioned this was August? Yeah, August. I was at a con that James and Martin were at, and I told them that because we were already planning this very podcast back then, and I told them that we were planning this, and mentioned your family's name and the experiences, and they were both immediately very interested and wanted to be informed when the episode went up.
Wow, would love to meet him. Shout out,
dude. Shout out Tynion and shout out Martin Simmonds.
So basically,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I apologize that I think Nick remembers and Ryan remembers I completely spaced on his name during your guys' episode.
Oh yeah, it's okay. I space on names all the time.
Oh yeah,
we're
the worst for that.
Yeah.
So you're going to see through this story that the farther it goes in, the more parallels you're going to see. So the last we had seen, Cole had killed those 2 reporters, and then Lee sends Cole home, says, take a few days off, deal with that. We're going to clean up the mess of this, make all this go away. Cole gets home to his empty apartment. His husband is out for the night, and that's apparently known that Cole was going to be arriving home to an empty apartment, because he walks in and sitting there alone in the dark is Martin Barker, the head of Black Hat. And he begins telling, he tells Cole, all this history of the department that Cole wasn't told, and clues him in on the department helping spread the Satanic Panic conspiracy and pulling Cole himself into it as when he was a child. And then Martin also reveals to him that the department had just plucked him, Cole, out of Black Hat's grasp at the ice wall. They had put him there so that they could have him, but the department showed up there just in time to pluck him away.
So there's like threads of, or there's hints of there being some sort of like future destiny planning. It seems. You know what I mean? Like I mean, from maybe I heard you wrong, but you're saying this kid, Cole, as a kid was groomed to be involved with this without even knowing it.
He got pulled into,
interestingly familiar, Ryan.
Pulled into this conspiracy theory, and
sounds interestingly familiar.
And now growing up, not only the group that pulled him into it, but their opposition were both at the same time gunning to get him onto their side.
Yeah, so for me, if you wanted the real life version, for me it would be like the Invisible College and or the Rosicrucians. Kind of like, hey, pay attention to us, because that's a long story there, but yeah.
Yeah,
and if you want more, shout out Bledsoe Said So for more.
How many plugs are we gonna get out of this, Tom?
The whole episode. I was
we had a quota, right?
if the listeners are interested in like all of these secret societies and informations on the occult, like you guys drop full episodes where you go deep into all that stuff. So if there's anything that you guys are hearing on this that you're not sure what does that mean, just go on the Bledsoe Said So, and they have the full gallery or full library of just like all of these different groups, all of these different things, many of which are in Department of Truth. So if you're reading the book and you're like, what the hell is this? You guys have already covered like so much of this stuff on your podcast. It's funny.
Yeah, like the egregores and the tulpas and the thought, all these concepts we go into very great detail. And thank you, dude. Just thank you for just having us on and just sharing the love and the plugs and the, we are so grateful, man.
I'm going to try to plow us through some more of the stories so we can get to that issue 13 that Nick and I talked about before you guys run out of time. So while Martin is there in Cole's apartment, Cole has an encounter with this star-faced man that he hasn't seen, doesn't have any memories of seeing since he was a child, and was pulled into this baby eating thing.
And crazy.
If was this real? Was he imagining it? But he's for the first time since he was a child, this star-faced man was right in front of him. And now Martin has urged Cole to get into the department archives. He wants him to. He's just telling him, get in there, look at their history, look at their information, look at what they're not showing you. So Cole tries asking him about this woman in red. Like, well, okay, if you were putting me there so that you could take me, who was this woman in red? But Martin leaves the apartment just before the woman Ruby kicks the door in with her gun drawn. She knew something was going on, but got there just too late.
I swear, this book is non-stop action. It's literally non-stop. Like
it's like a UFO Da Vinci Code.
I was gonna say,
is.
Yeah, it feels like a chase scene with like all this stuff, the phenomenon in the background.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It as far as comics go, this is a dense read.
For sure.
We're not talking like it's not like the Silmarillion or the Iliad, but as far as comics go, it is a deep read. It's a dense book, and you're going to need to remember some. There you go, Silmarillion.
Nick,
one of my favorites.
Sorry to throw you off, Robin, but Nick is quite literally an encyclopedia for Lord of the Rings. So you
Awesome.
you caught him there with good points.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had to. I got a little too excited, but yeah, no,
Dude,
it was surprisingly dense, but I love it.
Yeah, I
Love
mean,
it.
it's not the Akalabeth, but it's
Right.
it's still a very dense read, as particularly as far as comics go.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I was kind of shocked. Like there are parts in Department of Truth that feel like you're reading a novel, like in the best way,
Yeah.
though.
Oh yeah,
like the
for
best
sure.
way.
Wow.
And every stretch where you're taking in a lot of information, it feels like there's a lot of reading. You can be sure that there's going to be a payoff. Like you're coming to something big. Everything is there for a reason.
Oh yeah.
And so we're coming now into issue 8. And I want to show a picture. We were talking about Martin's art and how creative this is. So this is a page in issue 8. And I don't know if you can blow this up and look at full screen to see what's the border around the page and in between all of the panels. That is like a printed out and laid backwards writing repeated of the Pledge of Allegiance. And
The
it's just
art direction is incredible.
kind
Wow.
of cool and crazy and inventive things that Martin Simmonds puts into the design of really every page of every issue.
This
You
is
gotta-
calling to me, boys. I'm not
Dude,
gonna lie.
yeah.
I'm not a
You
comic
got
reader.
to,
It's calling to me.
Ryan. There's this
Even
one
if-
picture. I don't know if you guys have it, but there's this one page where the whole page is the Scarlet Woman, and there's all these esoteric symbols going down her dress.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's stunning. It's so stunning. Yeah, this book is dripping with occult knowledge and esoteric stuff, but it's packaged in such a good story.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible.
And this whole thing, like the thought forms, the belief manifesting reality, is a theme that James Tynion is really into. There are some other books that he writes. On a book called "Something Is Killing the Children" that continues winning. I don't know if you guys know what the Eisners are. They're like the Oscars of comics. And it just this year it won the award for best continuing series. James won the award for best writer. Last weekend it was another comics award show, the Ringos. He won best writer there. Something's Killing Children won best series and won best single issue. But it's the same thing. But in that story, monsters exist, and they manifest from the imaginations of children. So if that child laying in bed at night that is afraid because they think that the shadow of the tree on their window they think that's a monster can manifest from that imagination.
Oh, that sounds crazy. I want
And
to read
all the
that
monsters,
now.
it gets actually stated specifically. There's a spin-off from that series because it's so hugely popular. Another series called House of Slaughter, and it actually gets called out in one of those issues that all these monsters are all the same. Like all these kids imagine the same things. They're all shadows and teeth and eyes, because and it's a cool thing because they're coming from the imaginations of children. So that's what they should look like. It's just a shadow with teeth and eyes.
That sounds awesome. I gotta read that now.
Yeah, that's bone chilling, man.
Dude.
Yeah, that's
even
sick.
Ryan, I think like the art is so good that guys like yourself, Alex, like who love the conspiracy stuff, and also who just know so much about it. It's so awesome to just flip through it. And what's crazy is like, yes, it's all peppered in, but like Nick was saying, it's peppered in, but it's like these guys know it. Like they're telling the accurate backgrounds, they're telling the accurate stories of like Crowley, of Jack Parsons, of Hubbard, their relationships with each other, everything that like. So it's almost as if like, dude, Tynion, and I think Ryan, or I'm sorry, again, fucking A. Ryro. I'm just gonna call you guys Ryro from now on. Ryan and Robin are now referred to Ryro, so just
switch their names.
I like it.
Yeah, but Robin isn't Tynion like, hasn't he been like into this stuff like since he was a kid, like the conspiracies?
It really has to be, and some of his influence too, as far as this manifestation. I was curious about this, so I asked him a few months ago I wanted to ask him specifically if Sandman was a big influence on it, because if any of you guys are familiar with Neil Gaiman's Sandman,
Oh yeah.
It's the show on Netflix right now, but it's a comic started in 1989 and ran through 75 issues, which is the same length that James is gunning for Something's Killing Children to run. But
wow.
so the main character of Sandman is Sandman Dream, the Lord of Dreams, and so basically a big theme is that all of that manifesting reality, and so James said that Sandman was a big influence for that, as well as this other comic called Fables. And between the conspiracy theory stuff and the literature he was into, that's all the kind of stuff that combined into this stew that he's creating into these just crazy stories that he's making now.
That's insane, man.
Isn't that crazy to hear that? As much as you like this, Nick, this isn't even the stuff that's winning the awards that Tynion is writing. It's like, oh my God.
Seriously. I'm like, what? Because Department of Truth has won multiple of those. What were they called? Again?
Eisners.
It's had
Eisners,
awards and nominations and everything too. And both stories are being adapted. Netflix is doing Something's Killing Children. The last I spoke, I was speaking with Werther Deladera, the artist on Something's Killing Children,
God.
and he is another
Talk
one.
about art. His art is so good.
And he assured me that he and James are part of the writing for the Netflix adaptation, which is comforting. And early, it might have even been before the first issue of Department of Truth was released, there was a bidding war between production companies that were after the film and television rights for Department of Truth. And someone did eventually win that war, and we are going to see Department of Truth adapted as well.
So awesome.
There we go.
I hope they knocked it out of the park. Nah, come on, Ryan. No, you gotta read it, bro. You gotta read it.
Adaptations never live up to the source. That's why we haven't seen a Silmarillion movie. They can't
honestly,
do it.
That's probably true.
But God damn it, I want to see Glorfindel kill a Balrog.
I do. I want to see that. I definitely want to see that. I would pay money to see that, in fact.
So issue 8 that we just saw that page from, that introduces this character Hawk that we referred to earlier, and we found out that Hawk is this hatchet man for the Department of Truth. He's the one that for 30 years now has been the guy that has been not only squashing other conspiracies, but he's been putting his own things out there, and he has all these ways he's come up with to help manifest things. He later tells Cole that he has contacts in every major news outlet. So when he needs to get this thing believed, all he has to do is plant a seed of it, and then he puts it out to these news agencies and gets it just distributed everywhere, so that everyone in the country is seeing it on the news, and putting subliminal images of things into Cole's cartoons when he was a kid to really beef up his recollection and belief of this star-faced man,
to make him remember the star-faced man. They would put little flashes of the star-faced man into his cartoons and stuff as a kid, so he wouldn't forget it.
Yeah, and
Dude,
that they could make him then give the maximum effect in this interview that he would give on the news that they put out.
That's terrible.
Awful, bro.
And
it's just like
Hawk is a really interesting character like that, because you see this obvious very bad side to him, but you also see good sides to him. You see him disobey commands to do the good thing. And
absolutely.
But then you also have Ruby, who the woman who picked Cole up at the ice wall. She has become his partner, but really like his sort of chaperone, introducing him into things, and until he gets sent off with Hawk.
Yeah.
How many? Just a quick question. How many volumes are out currently, or issues, or I don't know the term.
We're at we're in the single issues. We're up to issue 21 or so right now. I'd have to get my books.
It's in the low 20s.
Audience, please do not flame me. I am not a comic book reader. I'm a special guest
You're gonna be after
I do
this.
not know the terminology.
Blame him.
I do not read comic books, but I love nerd stuff.
You're safe. You're safe.
Okay. I just realized, oh shit, man, they're gonna hear me say,
No,
"What is
no,
it?
you're
Issue
good.
what?" No, I'm just kidding, man.
So throughout this issue and through issue number 9, we have a lot of Cole has been sent off with this guy Hawk, and Hawk has been giving Cole let's say a curious amount of lessons on magic, religion, the Freemasons, Aleister Crowley, the ability
Tarot.
of belief to shape reality. He tells Cole the story of Crowley evoking the entity Iwas, or however
It's
that's
Iwas
supposed to
actually
be
in
pronounced.
real history.
Yeah, who read that book to him that changed his beliefs, and that led to Crowley naming himself the Great Beast 666, and spoke of his counterpart who was the Scarlet Woman Babalon. Teaches Cole that Crowley was in Berlin during the rise of Nazism, and then he fled to Britain. Helped the British intelligence services understand what the Nazis already knew about using these symbolism, the sigils, and this belief system to make themselves unstoppable, because the world believed that they were unstoppable.
Oh yeah, that was such a cool part in the book. It literally talks about how, how we talk about all the time, Ryan, how like when people believe in a symbol, it like physically charges that symbol with actual power.
Or
Yeah,
energetically.
Exactly. So in Department of Truth, it was talking about how the Nazis used the swastika because it was already a religious symbol that so many people believed in and followed. So they kind of just like hijacked that belief. They hijacked the power of that belief. You know what I mean?
Bro,
so cool.
Wow.
Like the lady, dude. And no offense, because I'm Catholic, so I can say it, but the Catholic Church clout chasing the image of the lady as La Virgen, bro.
I mean, come on, son.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually what the lady herself, the entity, when she was face to face with my dad, he's actually had a couple face to face encounters with her, which will all be in the book.
Dude, did you even mention that, by the way?
I have not. No, he's actually like almost done writing his book. It's slated for a December 1st, 2022 launch. That's close. I just want to say it, there's always the possibility they could, a month out, push. But for now, it's slated December 1st. Website's up, UFO of God. But so that's pretty well detailed in the book, his encounters and some of the things that she said. And naturally, if he wrote down every single thing that she said, it would be 2 chapters, 3 chapters. But anyway, that's what she said, was that I actually forgot what you were saying because I got so excited about the book. What were you just saying?
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's my fault.
No, it's okay.
Well, where do we leave off there? What
Babylon.
part were you trying to pick up on?
What did Babalon say to?
Okay.
The Catholics and the lady.
It'll come to me.
So I want to rewind to one part that I missed. So Ruby had taken Hawk to this airport where they were supposed to meet up with this agent Hawk. This was Cole's introduction to him, and this was an airport that the conspiracy of this airport was that there was this huge system of tunnels underneath it, and it was the secret base of this world government. So they were meeting up there, and Ruby is warning Cole. I think it was Ruby warning Cole. She said, this place doesn't work like reality. I think I have the quote here. What she said,
which was another thing. But by the way, which was another thing
Real
that
conspiracy?
they used. Yeah, that they used to reinforce. They were like, well, if all these people already believe in this real conspiracy that there's a secret base under the airport, then we should probably put it there so that everybody believes in it.
Yeah.
Like that's in the book. It's so cool.
We could use the office space.
It's coming back to me a little bit, but one of the main things that this lady told my dad was that there's a dark group in power that's scripting out the book of Revelations on a global scale so that the world at large will see these events going on and say, oh my God, the Bible is 100% literally real. You know, it's the end of the world. We're all going to die. And the goal from these elites in charge is to confuse us spiritually, to put out this alien fear. That was the thing. They're going to lie about aliens and script out natural disasters and political theater so that people believe the end of the world is coming and therefore manifest it. It's confuse the whole world and try to. That's the game of the elites, is try to make us manifest some sort of cataclysmic scenario, but it's not going to happen because experiencers like us and many others are going around saying, I've seen the lights. And when it spreads enough, and people know that the lights are real, the collective minds in this realm that are thinking about and understanding and having the knowledge of the truth, which is there are these beings from other realms coming and seeing us, it'll kind of manifest us towards that greater reality. So that's what it's all about. It's all about it's about the collective belief of the truth will change this world we're living in. Essentially, that's why it's important this story spreads.
Yeah,
So
and
bad.
it's so much of Department of Truth is about that
parallel,
exact collective belief thing. That line I was looking for. So as they're going through this airport that is, believed, the theory is that it's part of the New World Order and it's the secret base of the world government. This cool quote from Ruby to Cole. She's warning him about being careful here. She says, "Places like this are dangerous because they aren't real. They don't follow the same logic as real places. You could go down a wrong hallway and find yourself stuck in a labyrinth that only exists because a few people imagined it differently from the rest, and I'd never see you again."
Speaking of which, I remember exactly what it was that I forgot. It was killing me, but I got it. You said they're clout chasing with the Virgin Mary. That's
Tom did say that on the record.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing she said, that the divine feminine, the force of the divine feminine are, if we could understand the forces of creation as being these think Star Wars, think the Force. It's these metaphysical concepts that exist in another dimension, but we can kind of draw from them for energy and things like that. The divine force of the feminine has been suppressed for thousands of years. Religions around the world have been made to be completely male dominant. We are in a very warlike, and again, I'm not, making any sort of political or systematic opinion or anything like that. I'm just saying spiritually, religiously, the majority of religions, mainstream religions, are about suppressing the feminine energy. For example, women are wearing burqas or, full attire with slits in their eyes, or, like nuns, and covering their head, or, like I grew up Pentecostal, women have to wear skirts to their ankles and, long sleeves down. Yeah, you have to cover their hair or grow their hair really long, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on and on and on. But the whole point is, when the energies are in balance, and as a realm, as a species, we remember the truth of the divine feminine, that actually, in the very way ancient past, they always had concepts of there being in like women were priests. And there was always a dual aspect to what they understood of the divine, and there was always a sacred feminine part. And that's the key. That's the mystery, the missing part of the Trinity. The truth is, the Trinity is not the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, but the real truth is it's the Father, the Mother, and the child, or the Son, metaphorically, which is you and me, created beings who have manifested from the higher forces of the cosmos, or the divine.
Hell yeah, dude. In other words, shout out to all the ladies out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is our Valentine's Day episode.
Yeah.
We're recording it way in advance.
I don't know. I went on a little rant there. Sorry.
No. Dude,
that's
here. And it totally relates to real time right now. They're having crazy demonstrations. I was just at downtown Anaheim on Sunday, and we were driving past, and there was all these people that were going down to a protest for a bunch of stuff that's happening in Iran right now because of all this. Exactly what you're talking about. The government suppression.
I heard about that. Yeah, it's really bad right now.
Yeah, government suppression or religious suppression of the force of femininity, the power of the divine feminine. Really is what it all boils down to. And you're right, dude. The book kind of alludes to that, how the Scarlet Woman, they don't really tell you what she is, and they don't explain to you the importance or the significance, and it's it's kind of been done that way on purpose.
And to piggyback off of that, that's why people like Crowley and very influential, so to speak, dark occultists were taking their shots at the divine feminine and spinning it their way, because here's the real truth. It is the truth, like there is a divine feminine force, just like there's a divine masculine force. There's a so to speak a father god and a mother god, or you could look at nature. There's the rain in the soil, or there's the sunlight in the soil. You know what I mean? Like they always had these ideas of the sky gods being the masculine, the thunder, the rain falling down and giving life, or the solar, the sun gods falling down and giving life to the earth, or Gaia, or Mother Earth. And it's the whole point the ancients were saying is, look, dude, there are cosmic forces way higher than us on some macrocosmic, unfathomable scale that are generating life. And you and me are just tiny little mirror images of that. As above, so below, bro. That's what they were saying. They're saying as above, so below, bro.
They put the bro in there.
And if anyone who didn't know any of this history, all this stuff about Crowley that Ryan's been telling us, but think that you've heard the name before, years ago, this is probably late 80s, early 90s, Ozzy Osbourne did a song about us. Exactly.
Yeah.
Old reference. You're losing the audience.
Oh yeah, and lots of classic rock bands used like Crowley symbolism and like Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin had a ton of like wild esoteric symbolism.
Yeah.
And, like,
they
Crowley
bought his
stuff.
mansion.
That's right. Yeah,
they bought
that's
his
right.
mansion, the Beliskin Manor on Loch Ness. Yeah, Jimmy Page did.
I kind of feel like, I don't know, this is just my opinion. I kind of feel like that was their way of piggybacking off the energy. You know what I'm saying? Like they were almost like they were piggybacking off. So many people know about, Aleister Crowley and whatever. So they're like, well, let's put some of this symbolism on there and hey, who knows? See what happens.
I wasn't, isn't there a claim out there that the lyrics of Kashmir was a download?
Well,
yeah, I think so.
What was told to my dad was that CIA scientist Kit Green had given those lyrics to Led Zeppelin.
Ooh,
which, if you know who Kit Green is, I've never met him. I don't believe my dad has actually met him, but he is the previous director of the Weird Desk program, which was like that program at the Pentagon where they're actually responsible for harassing my family in recent years. Anyway,
sons of bitches. Sorry.
Fight them, goddamn sons of bitches.
Anyway, so that was insinuated was that they had actually given those lyrics to them. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, spies tell us all kinds of crazy ass shit. Probably see if we'll go say it. I mean, I don't know.
Good point. Just like Hawk.
Yeah, literally, that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So after Ruby had told Cole, why he has to watch out in this place, just not veer off anywhere, they get down, into the bowels of this tunnel system that only exists because people believe it did. And there are these tanks with all of these basically tulpas that are these things that only exist because they were manifested into existence. And within one of them, Cole sees what appears to be the star-faced man, and he starts smashing this glass at it under you. He sort of has this freak out seeing this thing again. He's losing his mind, and he screams that he didn't even believe in it. Since he was a kid, he didn't believe in this thing anymore, but now he's seeing it again. And as he's having this breakdown, this guy Hawk, who they were there to meet up with, walks into the room, and just this is the state that he encounters Cole in, having this breakdown. This is what we believe at this point, that this is the first time that Hawk and Cole have met. But we already know some of what was done to Cole as he was a child.
Right.
So Hawk comes in, and he reports to Cole and Ruby that he has torn down the ice wall at the end of the world, and that the earth is round as a beach ball. Cole asks Alex. Like how. Cole asks how that was possible, and this is just a cool insight into Hawk's character. When Cole questions how did you tear it? Like, I saw that ice wall. How did you're saying you tore it down? How is that possible? Hawk replies, I'm the motherfucking magic man of the DOT, Cole. Don't you forget it.
That's the best quote from the whole shit, man. That's
the
the
motherfucking
best
magic
quote
man
from the
of
whole.
the DOD.
I'm the motherfucking magic man. When I heard that, I was like, "That's some shit Ryan Bledsoe would say." The motherfucking magic man.
An interesting thing with Hawk is that, if you think about his interactions with Cole throughout, from this issue on, he's always teaching Cole things, the history of the Department of Truth, teaching him about magic and the power of this belief and manifestation and all this, and teaching him all the things that he knows, even when Cole is saying, what's the point? How is this stuff you're telling me helping us do what we're going to do right now? But he keeps doing it. Hawk keeps coming back to giving Cole these lessons, and and it'll come into play later. So after explaining how he, that was how he tore down the ice wall, because he's the motherfucking magic man. He tells Cole that next he's going to make this whole place that they're in, this secret tunnel system, they're going to make that whole place disappear, and Cole's going to help him do it.
Such a good cliffhanger moment too. Like I remember like flipping the page and being like, "Shit, that's the end of it. Damn it."
This is also like this issue, and I want to say the one right after, are some of the fucking best art of like.
Oh my god.
Every like other page is like a splash page of insanity, of imagery and like esoteric occult symbolism weaved into the story, and it's like, dude, you want like a poster for like every page of this thing. It's so incredible. And like we talk about how it keeps getting better, the story keeps getting deeper and better, and like I work in a comic shop, so I read a lot of comics, and when a book starts, and a lot of books start off awesome, it's comparatively, it's I guess pretty easy to make a book that seems cool in the beginning. But when I'm reading something that, it's not like a story of like a legacy character, it's not a Batman story or a Spider-Man story or something, where they're building off a character with, decades of history. When it's something that is just, an original creation, a new idea, even if it starts out great, I generally expect that story will stay good for around 10 issues. And then after you get around 10 issues in, if it's still going, you get to thinking, well, this story is just kind of circling around. It's probably time that they should wrap this up by now, but it keeps going. When I got to issue 13 of Department of Truth, it became, again, my favorite issue of it. And then issue 14 came out, and issue 14 was my favorite issue. And it just keeps getting better. Like all the crazy stuff that we've already gone through, it just keeps snowballing, and everything that happens is a big part of something later. What talking about like I wanted to ask this question earlier. Nick and Alex, do you guys ever get scared that like because of what you're doing and what you gotten what Ryan has gotten you guys involved in, like you guys ever get worried about like looking over your shoulder, like going to your car every once in a while?
In the beginning, yeah. But I think that's also where I was like with the conspiracy stuff. Used to be very, very big into it, and it's kind of taken a backseat as the show progresses, because we're kind of getting further away from that. And more into the positive and the love and the light. But in the beginning, yeah. And there was some things that happened to Ryan that Ryan was texting me as it was happening. And I was like,
Jesus
dude, like
Christ.
I'm going to be there. Like, what's going on? So definitely in the beginning. And now I'm just like, I don't worry about it at all. Like that doesn't really cross my mind. But it's interesting though. I do see why the conspiracy theorists are upset about the comic. And it's like I feel that because I get upset about when mainstream TV shows, mainstream Netflix adaptations take these real conspiracy theories that are like proven real and then make them like some fake TV show. So you don't know where the line is. Like it kind of construes everything.
Yeah, blurs it.
But yeah, take me off mute. I'm just not going to stop talking here. So I get it, but you've absolutely sold me. I feel like I need to go read it. So,
you
yeah,
have
Nick,
to,
are
bro.
you
It's so good.
you scared the government's going to come get us?
No,
Nick, you've
no.
lived some of it because you like. I don't think the audience knows how long you and Ryan have been buddies.
Yeah, we've been friends for too long. No, I'm kidding. I love you so much, Ryan.
Find it.
We've been friends for like 15, 16 years, something like that. But I will say, no doubt, when I first started finding out about like all the government, like, involvement and shit like that, like, I was afraid. I was like, I would be like at their house eating a peanut butter and jelly and be like, I'm gonna get shot through the window.
Oh man,
window for sure. But after so many years of seeing like the Bledsoe family just like sharing their story in whatever way they can, and continuing to meet with these government officials, and I've met some of them, and it's just not even a factor for me anymore. It's not even a worry. I think we and our project are in good hands. I'll just say that. I think we're protected.
Yeah.
Zero fear.
Robin, did we get to?
Okay. So here, all right. So we left off with Cole was now with Hawk. They're flying off somewhere now, and as they're on the way, Hawk is giving Cole these lessons about all the Freemasons and Crowley and all this stuff, and magic and manifestation, and Cole just keeps questioning why how is any of this going to help get rid of the airport. And they're sitting in a bar now at this point, and Hawk asks the bartender to put on the TV, so he turns it on, and there's a news report about an explosion at that airport. And Hawk explains that, well, now there's going to be news reports, all across the country because I have all these connections, and it's going to show footage of the fire at the airport, and then they're going to show videos of these tunnels underneath the airport that contain nothing but luggage. So that's that one cleaned up. So from here, they have now completed this trip. They've traveled out somewhere, which this is the thing. So after that, Cole now sees the Hawk in action, that he made a thing happen. And so he asks Hawk if Lee Harvey Oswald, the leader of the department, asks him if he believes in this stuff that Hawk, the methods that Hawk uses, because it doesn't seem like Lee's style. And Hawk explains that Lee hates this stuff, but in 30 years that Hawk has been with the department, he's the best that Lee has. And he tells him a story of how Lee and Doc Hines, who is another member of the Department of Truth that we met, in 1967, they tried to create a tulpa. They wanted to catch a UFO, but they caused a bridge accident in West Virginia where 46 people died. And what they created was not a UFO.
The Mothman.
Mothman.
Yeah, Mothman.
Yeah.
So now
so cool.
We're coming into the part of the Department of Truth that gets Tom sexually excited. Because issues 10 and 11, we have Hawk and Cole are flying out to a rural part of Oregon. They have flown out to this rural, I can never say the word, I sound like I'm drunk, rural area of Oregon, where they're going to head into the woods for Cole's first encounter with a wild fiction. They're hunting Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So, Tom, take us into the origins of Bigfoot.
In the real, see, this is why this is so meta, dude. I'm like, are we talking about comic? In real life, the Patterson-Gimlin footage. What I don't even remember specifically what it was originally what began it, but Patterson-Gimlin have this footage. There's been this belief that there is Bigfoot, something in the woods that is Link, who knows what it is, this big beast man, and people have been, trying to get after it. People are seeing and hearing things in the forests, and they believe that it's a true physical creature that is a link between the missing link or whatever, something that's been able to be so elusive that it can hide in the forest. And I'm trying to forget what the origin is in the comic. I'm starting to forget.
It's the same. It's the exact same. Yeah.
And what I love about these issues, it's 2 issues they did on it.
Yeah,
like
10 and 11.
And it's about this father who, when he's a boy, he's out hunting with his father.
Yeah.
And I think at first they see the tracks, and then he straight up sees the fucking Bigfoot, right? And he sees it, and so it's 100% real to him. So for the rest of his life, this man goes out into the wilderness, like leaves his family behind, because his entire life he's been ridiculed, that no one believes him, that he saw Bigfoot. So his entire life is now dedicated to this obsession of finding proof so he can show his family, show his son, like, look,
because it has torn his family apart.
His wife divorced him. His wife kept the son from him. You can see in the letters back and forth that, like, they're keeping the son. They've been to therapy. Like, they've been telling the son, like, we can't keep, like, exposing you to your father. It's bad for you. Blah blah blah. And so his father the entire time is just trying to find, like, proof that this thing exists, to be able to prove once and for all that he's not crazy. And at one point his son did believe him. And at one point his son was saying that he believed him. And then there's this letter from his son to his dad saying, like, I have to let this go. I have to let you go. And it's like fucking heart wrenching.
Yeah, it was emotional.
Yeah, and this arc bounces these 2 issues. They bounce back and forth between this story. We see a few of these letters, and these letters in the book are written out, as full letters. It looks like you're holding the actual letter in your hand, the way it's written out and illustrated. So it goes back and forth between, this family and seeing the guy still devoting his life, 30 years later to trying to find this proof to show everyone that he wasn't crazy. And we see Cole and Hawk are arriving in the woods, and they meet up with another department operative named Darla, and she handles, these wild fictions. So while they're out there in the woods, Darla is explaining to Cole that reality works differently around these fictions. Tell them that you're looking at something that doesn't quite exist. That's why you can't take a clear picture of them. Tell them you can get a sunburn at night standing near them. You get nauseous and people have seizures. She says, that they're mean fuckers. They're not animals. They're thought forms.
Yeah, my dad has rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
Yep, from constantly being around, orbs or whatever. It definitely, according to the CIA, indicated that it that takes a toll on your body, and it's kind of like causes inflammation. I don't know. There's something about the energy coming from them, but this would have to be constant exposure, constant, face-to-face exposure.
And as something that blew me away, Ryan, when you guys talked about on the podcast, is that the understanding of the la stigmata in
that's kind of where I was going with that. Yeah,
go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, well, that's what the that's okay. So this is a real long, crazy ass story, but this is not the Department of Truth. This is my real dad. So he somehow or another got involved with the Vatican just through correspondence.
No big.
Like not that he was like working with them or anything in that capacity, but that they were corresponding to him information through certain Jesuit priests, and they even held a ceremony for him in the papal hall to pray for his rheumatoid arthritis and try to heal him. And like they took a photo of my dad and they placed it in the Vatican secret archives beside the manuscripts of Galileo and Copernicus, and they essentially indicated that he had the stigmata, but in their Vatican secret archives. Oh, I forgot to even mention how he got involved with these people, because there was a professor of religion and philosophy here at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, who had contacts at the Vatican and had the clearances to study their secret archives, and was going with that figure I had talked about earlier, who was deep down in the Department of Defense. The whole book was written about him and everything. My dad is kind of like a secret backstory to that book that was not published, but basically formed the whole thing. And they went to the Vatican to do some study on the UFO phenomenon, and they know for sure, they have ancient writings of like light beings coming down and performing miracles for villagers and shit like that, and saints like the Saint Francis of Assisi having rheumatoid arthritis like symptoms from constantly being around these holy beings of light that they were depicting as angels. And that's what the Jesuit priest had indicated to my dad, that they believe he has stigmata, and that he was like after death would be known as a saint because of his experiences.
Jesus, literally.
Jesus H. Christ.
Not that they would. Yeah, I'm not saying that they would officially he'd be on the Catholic registry of saints, but that his experiences were indicative of that, kind of title, and that's the whole, that's the Vatican thing, and yeah, I mean they essentially told us straight up, like they know the secret history of UFOs and how the religious phenomenon from around the world was really these light beings just coming down and giving these revelations to mankind at different points of consciousness, being like on the cusp of hitting that next level of technology or spiritual reasoning or whatever. And they are responsible throughout mankind, these beings showing up and guiding us through our next technological breakthroughs, kind of like guiding us up to where we are now, on the verge of the age of Aquarius. And they had indicated that there were 9 orders of angels in the Catholic archives. They have these writings called the 9 orders of angels. And when you get into the real secret UFO shit here, you start talking about like the orbs. Some of them are cherubs. Some of them are, seraphim. Some of them are real bright, burning, powerful entities that can step out, and 10-foot tall manifested beings of light are speaking to you face to face. My dad's had experiences like that. I've seen little tiny things in my bedroom, little 3-foot, 4-foot tall guys. Yep. And you just look at the 9 orders, and there's even ones known as thrones. Well, when you see the big orbs and the big light things in the sky, the real big ones, those are thrones. And it's just, this is kind of like some real secret shit, but.
Bledsoe Said So podcast for more information, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, we're getting towards the end of what we were going to keep you guys wrapped up.
We're
right
keeping
here.
these boys over.
They've gotten into the forest here, so we spend
I'm invested.
We spend these 2 issues weaving through the stories of this man who has had his life torn apart, and the Department of Truth operatives who are hunting this Bigfoot. And another part where I want to mention the art in this particular issue, where they're going through the woods. Like Martin has done things where the text is weaving through the environment that the characters are walking through. It's become a part of where they are, and it's just a very cool thing. It's so well done, but you can say that about every issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So as So Darla knows that she can feel it. She knows that they're getting close to the Bigfoot. She's getting the feeling from it now, because that you feel them when you're near them. And as they're getting close to it, you see that our friend who has been hunting it his whole life is now seeing Cole through the scope of his gun. He sees these other people in the forest as he's looking through his scope. And while he's standing there with his gun drawn, the Bigfoot emerges right in front of him.
Oh.
And he drops his gun, and his eyes start bleeding. And he can't do anything. It's right there on top of him, just looming over him. And Darla offs the thing, and it falls down dead. And this is a part where, one of those parts that I mentioned, where you don't know what to feel about Hawk, because he's done these really terrible things, but he's also been giving these lessons to Cole, teaching him things that it doesn't seem like he should need to know. While they were on this walk through the forest, he had Darla teaching Cole the things that she knows too, so he keeps getting all these lessons from Hawk, and he doesn't know why. But he also had his partner Ruby telling him, don't trust Hawk. He's charming, and he's gonna get himself under your skin, but he's dangerous and he will hurt you. So it makes it really hard to know what to make of Hawk. But then we get this moment where he approaches this man who was there in the forest with them, and asks him. He knows why the guy was out there. Asks him how long he's been doing this, and the guy tells him 30 years. And he says, well, no one's ever going to believe you. No one's ever going to believe that you found it. but that doesn't matter because you know what you found, and that's all you need. You can stop now. Your hunt is over. You live your life, and sends the guy off to leave. And Darla says, well, we can't let him live. Like he's a loose end, so they're supposed to kill him. And Hawk wants to let him go, and Darla says, Lee's not going to like that. And Hawk just says, well, I'm not going to tell Lee. So it's one of those parts that we just,
So he's rebelling.
yeah, and it's another instance of Hawk's doing a good thing now. He's doing the good guy thing.
It's gray. Like his job is terrible. He's for the bad guys, but he's like morally he's questionably good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all gray area, bro.
Yeah.
It's like you never know who's on what team.
Dude, Ryan, you should read this.
So are we going to
what,
go?
bro? I'll have to check it out.
Are we going to go into the end of issue 12 and 13 here and spoil for him how this ends?
Oh, you know what?
So good.
At this point, we've gotten to 12 and 13, and I don't know. I kind of feel like it's so good. It's so good that like it might have to be experienced for yourself.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
And it will take a while to read to get to this, but the payoff is worth it. And I knew, like, it's been a while since this issue came out. Like we said, we're at like what 21 or 22 now, and going back to the end of issue 13, like I remember still that when it came out, issue 13 became my new favorite issue. I remembered that the end was crazy and that there was this great twist. But going through it, reviewing it again just yesterday to prepare for this, it blew my mind again because I forgot how many layers there were to this twist on a twist, and it just crazy.
Yeah, the first
I
time
don't want
I
to
was
disappoint
reading,
you, buddy.
oh
No,
yeah,
man, no. It's good. Like that's why I'm saying, like, it's so good. Like that's why I question: do we spoil it for these guys, or do we just leave it for them to
give them
to check?
Well,
it out?
Here's my thing. If you want me to be perfectly honest with you, I want to know what happens next. And
Ryan loves spoilers.
No. I'm actually like inclined to read this. My problem is I'm a lazy bitch. How am I going to get my hands on it? Am I supposed to be buying physical copies? Like, how are these?
No,
how are
dude,
these
I
damn
sent
kids
you-
reading these comic books these
I
days?
You can do
sent
it
you a
digital.
link.
You did?
I sent you, yes, sir.
Oh, so I'm not reading physical shit like back
We'll
then?
cut this
I'm
part
reading it,
out,
like, on
but
my
yeah.
phone?
Yeah,
The
on
link
your
is
phone,
for
son.
That's whack. I want the real shit, bro.
I mean, I didn't get a link.
Buy it then.
No, seriously though, I do want to know what happens next. If you don't want to spoil it for me, that's cool. If you want to, I don't want to disappoint anybody out there listening who might want to hear what happens next. I mean, it's your call, guys.
Honestly, if anyone listening hasn't read this, they shouldn't be listening anymore at this point. But yeah, like if you think that you will go read it, it is really best experienced reading it yourself.
Here's my thing. I'm a big guy for firsts, and like this would technically be, if I was to read this would be my very first comic book.
Yeah.
I've never read a comic
It's a
book,
good
so
one.
it would be kind of like cool to make that plunge,
Yeah,
so.
and there would never be a more perfect comic for you in particular.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, no way.
With your
It's
family
perfect.
like this.
Right.
This comic couldn't come closer to being about you.
It might
Than
open some
it
stuff
is,
up
you
in
know?
me. It might honestly really open some stuff up in me.
Let's
I think it would.
Yeah.
let's save the juice for him, as we say. But
Yeah.
in
How
the
about
meantime,
this? I can read it and we come back for a part 2 in the future.
dude,
There you
please.
go.
Hey,
For sure.
let's
Yeah.
go.
And then we can have you tell us the end of issue 13.
Yeah.
And what you thought when you read it.
Yeah, I
Just,
like
I
that.
love this idea.
Yeah.
A quick, just to show you, what is the artist name for the variant covers too? For some of these issues are insane. This artist, Vincenzo Riccardi. This is
Whoa.
Dude.
this is his. This is the cover 13. This is one of the variants. Look at all these crazy things that they
Dude.
put in there.
You
That's
can see the compass,
insane.
the Freemason compass on her book, and then the all-seeing eye on the other side.
Well, there's like a DMT entity in the sky, but his face is like an inverted pentagram.
Well, that's the Starface
that's the
man.
Starface man.
Oh,
yeah.
that's terrifying.
Do we have a picture of Starface in here for him to see?
Not by...
He looks kind of like the thing from Spirited Away, except
This
he
is
has a star on
amazing.
his face.
This is amazing.
Here's issue 10 variant by the same artist.
Oh, dude. That is sick.
Yeah,
That is
and
so sick.
This really is just like handwritten and hand drawn.
Look
by
at the
gods for
G.
me.
Look at the G. You see the
Yeah.
Freemason thing right there? Yeah.
Yo, we got to manifest doing an episode like this with the author and the writer.
dude.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I've spoken to them about that.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, that's insane already.
Wow.
Yeah, it'd be dope.
That's so wild.
Let me see.
But
Yeah.
Robin is, I think, trying to find some good footage of Star-Faced Man. While he does that, one of the spin-off digital comics they did was Department of Truth Wild Fictions. This is the cover for it that I bought from the artist Martin Simmonds. So that's the Bigfoot in a fetal position there.
Wow.
This is Jeremy was with me when I picked this up.
Right.
In Vegas.
Oh no way.
Yeah. So and you can kind of see how it's like a painting and like the layers and how it's like you can see like the watercolors dripping down to the bottom and stuff.
Wow.
It's like super detailed. But,
Stuff is masterful, man.
yeah, dude, his art is just amazing.
This isn't really relating to this, but do you have handy your commission from Ben?
Dude, where'd I put that? Oh,
So
I have no idea where I put it.
this other artist, Ben Templesmith, did a really cool commission for Tom too.
Let me see if I can find one. Keep talking amongst yourselves.
Yeah, so I'm just uploading. This is just a rando page that I found real quick, showing the Star-Faced Man. This is just an interior page from one of the issues.
Dude, he's creepy. Look at that.
And this is where it's characters like the Star-Faced Man, where the story goes from looking completely based in reality, you know, like realistic looking people and settings, to just this completely bonkers.
I remember you saying that earlier.
Kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, like that looks like it's straight out of the Arkham Asylum graphic novel. Like one of the panels of the Joker.
Yeah,
or whatever.
that
I mean, that was
McKean art.
absolutely demented.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I also love how a
What-
third of the page is the green, and then the other 2/3 is like red, and there's just like this distinct separation there.
Yeah, dude. They play around with the art like you wouldn't even believe it. Like one page will look like this, and then the next page will look like Steamboat Willie. Because because they're having like a memory, or they're thinking about something in a non-realistic way. Like it is genius.
That's amazing.
The creative direction, because like the art is one thing and then the writing is another thing, but to be able to like craft this experience in this way, it's like you have to be a visionary to be able to do that. And it's something that is, I gotta be honest, it's really rare, you know, and Department of Truth has captured it. They did it.
Wow. The other issue you were talking about earlier, was it 7 or 8 that you were touching on?
I believe it was 7, the one with the orbs of light. Yeah, let me confirm that real quick.
So the artist of issue 7, that is Tyler Boss. He's the same one that did the cover we were looking at earlier. He was the one that did that one. There you go, Tom.
Right.
That's
Which
Tyler Boss as well.
is just crazy that issue is about light beings and orbs of light. Like that's a huge synchronicity. But yes, I just looked it up and confirmed that is issue 7.
And just to clarify this, that image on the left there is depicted about specifically my father's experience. This is a painter by the name of Doug Auld, and actually he had some paintings that eventually made it in the Smithsonian. Very talented, very gifted painter. And this photograph, this painting is actually like really tall. Like I think it's like 7 or 8 feet tall or something like that, or it's 5 or 6 feet tall. I mean, it's very life size. And there's some Easter eggs in there that he had put his own touch into, but the core elements of the story are, you know, the fact that the UFO Association and with you know, light beings, and as I was saying earlier, she had appeared as a bull, and it's insane. Oh, and if you look carefully here, there's a triangle in her chest. You have to look very close. You see?
Yeah, it's really like light.
Yep, these entities appeared with triangles on their chest and said that they represent the Trinity. That's what I was talking about earlier, the Trinity, the male and the female, but also the child, which the truth behind that is that's us, that's mankind, that's That's creation. We are the children of the divine.
So I wonder now, is the triangle in her here anywhere? Yeah, maybe not.
I mean, look in the symbol with the eye.
Yeah, symbol.
Yeah, there is that.
It's on the cow's chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. They got creative with it.
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah, Tyler Boss is a really great artist too. He does he's done some other great comics himself too. There's one that's just coming back from a hiatus called "What's the Furthest Place from Here?" That's a very cool book to check out too.
What's the furthest place from here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Wow. Man, what a fantastic time. I just want to thank you guys so much for having us on. It means a lot to us. And you can tell how excited we are by the fact that Alex showed up as the Riddler and then the biggest
paid his ransom.
And then it's not even Halloween anymore.
And then said 7 words live.
Well, right. I mean, I'm just doing my job here, but I want to say thank you to you guys because nobody invites me on. So the people who invite me on are at the top of my list now. So
oh hell yeah, we're safe when the Riddler comes around.
Thank you so much for coming, guys. This was really, like I said, I was really looking forward to this. 2-3 months ago, I told James and Martin that we were doing this because I was really stoked about doing it.
It was a ton of fun.
Thank you guys for taking the time.
It was super
you guys have an amazing show. It was so much fun. Thank you so much for having us.
I don't think we said this live real quick, but I think we had acknowledged this before this, before we said like, all right, let's do this. And today is Tuesday. Tomorrow, the 1st. Tomorrow, November 2nd, which I know this will not come out that day, but by now, when this is out, on November 2nd, on our show, Bledsoe Said So, we will have just released an episode where we interviewed Bat Force Tom about
I know that
this.
guy.
Yeah, so if you guys like this, and then hop on over to our show and check us out with Tom, and we don't get to the Department of Truth talk until about an hour in. I mean, we go into all kinds of other things. So,
and when we post this episode, I'll link your podcast and that specific episode with Tom as well.
Oh,
Excellent.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, and again, if anybody's listening and love the stuff that you guys were talking about, Bledsoe Said So on all the major platforms, YouTube. We didn't mention the Discord. If you guys join the Discord for Bledsoe Said So, you get early access to the episodes on Mondays. And then more important than that, like your Discord community, like we talked about on your guys' episode, is just like nuts, dude. Like already today, I was already seeing people who have already listened to the episode. They're like hitting you guys up, hitting me up, saying like how fun it is, and they're all talking about, I want to read Department of Truth now. Well, guess what, guys? You're about to get hit with this episode, and you're gonna get another dose of it. So
we have a Discord too, and I still don't know how to use it.
Oh, if you need some help, man, just let me know. I can help you. I made it all myself. I'll help you.
Yeah, we'll invite you guys to our Discord, and you guys can get in there and start getting crazy with it because we're just we have so much going on.
Cross pollinate.
We got a lot going on. Just don't, but we'll let you guys know from too. But
well, it sounds dirtier when you say germinate.
I was thinking the same thing.
I just want to say it's so wild. Like when Robin was talking and you were saying something, so I was over here trying to I think it was when I was trying to find. I couldn't find the comic. Basically, what it did is Ben Templesmith, the artist. I got a sketch cover of Department of Truth, and it's an alien autopsy, but it's a xenomorph alien on an autopsy table getting cut open.
Oh, cool.
Crossover. But while I was looking for that, I was like out of the room, like looking at you guys all talking, and it's like Bat Force Radio, but Bledsoe Said So on Bat Force Radio, and I just remember thinking like, how the fuck did we get here? Like, what the? This is fucking crazy.
This is the Fusion Dance special.
We tell the story on the episode you just did on Bledsoe Said So.
That's right.
We do.
Good segue, dude.
We tell the whole story, about how we became friends. So
yeah. But boys, honestly, like I know we joked, but seriously, like we're gonna find another excuse to have you guys back on. Maybe in a couple of maybe when more books come out. Yeah, when more stuff. And this was a blast. Like I said, Robin kicked ass with his research and doing this.
Hell yeah,
dude! I skipped so much shit because I didn't want to keep you guys here. This would have been like 8 hours long. Like it's impossible to do the book justice if you're not
Yeah.
going through every issue heavily. There's just so much in it.
Well, you
Right.
crushed it. You explained it eloquently. You crushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick, dude, like I was telling Robin, like when we were setting this up, I was like, dude, I'm gonna sit back because like you and Nick are gonna be doing all the work because like you guys don't. when I was on your guys' episode, Nick was fucking reminding me of stuff that I had completely forgotten. So
Oh, it's
That's-
fresh. It's just fresh.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about the book though, because there's so much happening that it's like the next thing you read pushes out something that you read before.
Straight
because
up.
you can't hold all those things in.
Because
Yeah.
it just keeps getting crazier and crazier, so you're forgetting everything that just happened because crazier
Yeah.
shit just happened. You know what I mean?
And anyone who hasn't read the book already, you know, aside from you guys, if anyone has just listened to this and beyond, I'm sorry that we spoiled so much for you, but you shouldn't have been fucking listening this far.
You gave him warning. You gave him
Yeah.
fair warning in the
Yeah, we
beginning.
told you we were gonna do it.
well,
We
like
did.
we should have probably said at the beginning. We did.
Well,
And I know
I'm not
Butch,
discouraged.
yeah, you're gonna want to read it
Yeah,
more.
I want to read it more. Yeah, I really do.
You've gotten half of the story by what we just went
And I'll
through.
forget half of it.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, boys, once again, thank you guys so much for coming on. Loved having you. Definitely have to have you back. And we'll be chatting much more after this. But any other part? You know what? I'm sorry, Ryan. After all of that, what is the one message that you were trying to spread? What is the one message you, Nick, and Alex are trying to spread with Bledsoe Said So?
Well, I'll let them give their take on that. I'll give you my take on that, and then I think we all have something a little different we bring to the table. Me personally, what I just wish if I had a platform to speak directly to the whole world, I would say, be positive, think positive, do positive, speak positive. Because ultimately, there's an eternity after death. There's an afterlife where you go, and it's not like you're suffering in hell. I mean, it's a beautiful journey of reincarnation, and there are beings that come here and help us when we need it. And I don't know. I just think there's so much negativity in the world. People should spread love, should spread joy, should spread positivity, and just hold on to hope.
It's a rare sentiment for people to want to put out positive. Like, we have gotten flack from followers or listeners, whatever, before, because they perceive that we only say good things about, like, oh, you love every comic you talk about, and well, it's not that we love everything we read or watch. We only spend our time talking about the things that we liked, and we have something positive to say about. Why the fuck would we want to spend our time talking about things we didn't like?
Exactly.
There's enough negativity.
It's better for your mental health. Why are you gonna sit there and it's like the whole this is sorry to go on a rant. This is the Philosopher's Stone shit. This is the secret of manifestation. People sitting around and focusing on the negatives, they're going to attract negative experiences in their life. It's the law of attraction. That's why it's so supremely, just utterly important to focus on positivity, to spread positivity. It's infectious. It's light. It's love. It's warm. And it's a very real energy that exists outside of our five senses that we can only detect through feelings and emotions. It's joy. It's real. It's light.
Nick, Alex, what do you guys feel that is your what are you guys trying to kind of get with the show put out there?
I'm trying to get Alex to take me on a date. I think it's probably
that handsome
with
son
the
of a bitch.
mask.
Look at him.
Yeah,
look at the bone structure on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, come on now.
Look at the bone structure
Come
on
on
this
now.
guy. Look at him.
man.
Give me a shot, Alex. Give me a shot, dude. Come on.
They don't even know we had a psychic medium on
Man,
who
we
said
go on a date
in a
every
past
time we
life.
record.
Yeah.
There was a delay there. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I'm kind of, yeah. I said me and Nick go on a date. We all go on a date every time Nick comes to town.
It's true.
Pretty much. And for the listeners, we had a psychic
We
medium
may
on
or
our
may
show
not,
who said they were married in a past life.
yeah, no, Vincent.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. Vincent Jenna
Ooh.
came on the show and he said that me and Alex were married in a past life and that
That's so fucking
Alex was
brilliant.
like a Saudi prince and I was like his like hot babe. So, I just want him to take
Sick.
me out in this timeline. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Gonna have
rekindle
Shot.
that magic.
Oh, come on.
No. You give your answer, Alex. What do you think?
All right, yeah. So I'm kind of delayed here, so I'm doing my best. But no, I think Ryan said it beautifully. I feel like we're all pretty aligned us three and the team that's not on camera right now, as far as what our mission is. It's just spreading the positivity, the light, and the love. I'm super big into the manifestation as well. We've seen it. We've done it on our show. I do it every day in my daily life. And I'm just trying to make sure that the show runs good, man. As long as these guys can get out there and sound good and look good and send the message, then I'm doing my part. So
awesome, man.
Yeah, we very much are all aligned with like the message and like what we want to be putting out into the world. It's all about love, light, and positivity. Like, it might sound funny, but think about every comic book you've ever read, every video game you've ever played, every movie, every book, everything. The moral of the story is always like, friendship is power, love is power, like relationships are the greatest wealth, love will defeat the darkness. It's always what's talked about, and we believe that those are real, mystical, ancient truths, and they're never going to not be true. And I think we've all had our personal lives enriched by spreading love and light and positivity, and we've seen what a profound, like, positive effect it has on not only our lives, but more importantly, all of the people around us.
There's a very real emotional return there.
Oh yeah, and it's just got us like, if every single person did this, this world would be a utopia. The world would be heaven. It would, you know what I mean? It would be a perfect place. So we're all just at a place in life where we're like, there's one goal here, and it's just spread love. Spread love. That's it.
Beautifully done, boys.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I gotta say, man, like, not enough goes to the team behind the scenes, because if you consider how quickly you guys have kind of started, well, from where you've started to where you are now, the quality of the show is so high for something that, I mean, how many episodes do you have so far total?
We just recorded up to 70. So we're around 65, 66, I think.
Yeah.
And like
we're a year and a half released.
The quality of it for like a quote unquote newer podcast, like, it's like you guys are leaps and bounds ahead of, like, I mean, fucking, we're still almost kind of rinky dink. We've been doing it for a while.
Oh, whatever.
Come on. But I mean, like, it shows to like the quality that you guys like really put into it and the time that you put into it. And like, I know Jenny's a part of it. Alex, you guys are just killing it. So shout out to Jenny, shout out to Alex, shout out to everybody else, behind the scenes, that's helping you guys do your thing, because it really shows, in everything that you do. So
that means a lot. Thank you.
Robin, any parting thoughts?
Actually, I was just thinking about something as you were talking about the production. I was noticing the background picture that I've got behind the images here, and it made me realize there was one artist on Department of Truth that we haven't spoken about who did a lot of the variant covers, and that is Jenny Frizen. And I'm just uploading a picture. There we go. So I'm just going to put this up front here. So that center image of Babalon, that's a Jenny Frizen piece. And she's done a lot of great covers for these. She's outstanding.
That's so sick.
Been in our lovely background all episode.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's amazing.
That's awesome.
But yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, yeah,
it was great to finally go, fairly deeply. We went halfway to the deep end in examining this, but it was really cool to finally get to do this. And there isn't anyone better to do it with than you guys.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And likewise, obviously.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Check out Bledsoe Said So on all major platforms, including YouTube. You can see their beautiful faces when you're on there. That's Bat Force Radio. And yeah, all right, guys.
Later.
Woo!